Welcome to your Full Circle Friday. My name is Sara, a certified trauma recovery coach with Full Circle Wellspring. Trauma causes a disruption in our neural pathways and can halt survivors from staying connected to themselves, others, and the world around them. They can abandon or exile parts of themselves behind a wall of shame and fear. These episodes are dedicated toward understanding trauma and learning about outside resources, adjunctive services, recommendations, techniques, coping skills, and more to support and encourage the survivor on their journey back to their authentic selves. Let's get started. Today, I'm going to talk on lighthouses. Throughout your trauma recovery journey, a labyrinth as we identified earlier this week, a recommendation I like to make to clients is to have a list of lighthouses along the way. An actual lighthouse has lots of uses and facets. Major functions are to warn ships of hazardous coastlines, shallow shores, rocks, and reefs. They also serve in safely guiding in-harbor approaches and departures. They are a beacon of light to help maritime navigation. If there's a high cliff, a lighthouse can be shorter in stature, but if it's on a shallow shoreline or even in the water, the lighthouse must be quite tall. The whole point of the lighthouse is to shine so brightly that it can be seen while the sailor is still far enough away from the shore to make any corrections and adhere to the warning the lighthouse gave. Each lighthouse is unique, painted different colors for easy recognition during the day to help map olden day voyages, different types of lighting depending on its era, changing light patterns if two lighthouses are close together for identification as landmarks, and even in known fog areas where a light may be hard to see, a sound signal would be used at appropriate times. Lighthouses were a form of GPS for ships before GPS was a thing, and even now are still used for harbor guidance and when GPS fritzes out. Now imagine that you are the ship, or the captain of it, whichever you prefer. This pilgrimage we find ourselves on in our trauma recovery healing often has dark spots and has times where warnings are needed. Identifying our own lighthouse escorts prior to catastrophe is very valuable. I mean this in a way of a proactive list of resources that can assist to prevent a shipwreck and a reactive one in case of a shipwreck. As a coach, if a client has a known history of dangerous or life-threatening behaviors, we conduct a safety plan and maintain crisis management plan right on file. This gathers up their warning signs as well as resources of how to handle those warning signs. However, I really believe as you build your toolbox of recovery aids, keeping a short list of lighthouses close by is relevant for any trauma survivors. Some examples of proactive lighthouses that are warning where there are dangerous shoals or injurious rocks ahead could be identifying your known triggers and knowing your triggering situations or people, recognizing a lack of self-care routine that signals impending overload, understanding your 4F reactions to catch yourself when you're about to enter one, or learning to watch for somatic signals in your body when they tell you to rest. In olden days, a light keeper was present to get emergency help for a shipwreck, which is now replaced with remote monitoring for said crisis management. Some of these reactive lighthouses for trauma survivors could include having a list of safe people to call in a crisis, knowing your emergency numbers for a mental health breakdown or a domestic violence incident, keeping an emergency self-care safety plan in case you begin to get overwhelmed or consider harming yourself, learning how to challenge intrusive thoughts or self-harm or suicidal ideation with CBD prompts, or using guided meditation specifically for trigger situations. There are also beacons to help us dock safely in harbor when we need rest, or to guide us out of harbor when we are ready to set sail to the seas again. This could be a compilation of a trauma-informed therapist, a trauma recovery coach, a yoga instructor, a body worker, a somatic experience practitioner, or even a close, safe friend or partner who knows when to remind you about productive rest or encourage you to take time away from a stressful situation. These are paramount to keeping you well on this journey to trauma recovery and authentic health and wellness. If you don't have a trusted guide to help you gather these type of resources, I'd encourage you to send me a message on the Connect tab of my website or schedule a free 20-minute consultation to see if coaching is right for you. Together, we can find ways to help your mind, body, and spirit on a healthy journey, sailing in safety and wellness, enjoying the waters, and floating along in peace and security. Thank you for joining me for today's episode of Trauma Survivorhood. This has been written and created by your host, Sara, a trauma recovery coach. For more info about me, trauma recovery resources, or to check out our support groups, classes, free survivor circles, private coaching, and more, visit www.fullcirclewellspring.com. Schedule a complimentary 20-minute discovery call to see if coaching is right for you. For the latest info on schedules and updates, follow us on Facebook at Full Circle Wellspring. All other media, social links, blogs, and show notes are posted in the episode guide below. Until next time, be well, survivors.